Alright, that is enough! Everyone just stop! Just stop!
You know all those crazy videos you see on the internet?
Me?
Ones
Yeah,
that
you!
love
Come down here and face me like a man! Fucking dare you!
What's up, you guys? Welcome back to Machinima Respawn.
Diablo 3! Microsoft calls out soon.
If you grew up anything like me, if you saw that logo at the beginning of a video, you knew it was going to be a good video. But now, that company is long gone, and to me it seems people forgot about Machinima and what its downfall really meant to the content creator space. So, 8 years later, I've started to see content creators make the same mistakes, particularly in the VTuber industry. And with the recent collapse of the agency Vshojo, I'm starting to see similarities that are eerily reminiscent of Machinima. So in the hopes of people not repeating history, let's go back in time. The word machinima comes from the combination of the words machine and cinema, used to describe the act of making videos using either video game footage or the in-game engine. These styles of videos started to become popular in the late 90s. And at the same time, the website Machinima.com was launched in 1999 with the purpose of hosting these types of videos, and for the next 5 years, this was their bread and butter. By 2007, YouTube was starting to develop its personality. It went from being a place where people would upload their family vacation videos and 20-second clips recorded on a cell phone to people actually making content for the sake of entertaining on YouTube. One of the genres quickly gaining popularity on the platform was gaming content. While popular, the genre fell into a kinda gray area in terms of copyright, a persisting issue being creators getting hit with false copyright claims just for simply uploading gameplay. Machinima, already being well established in the gaming scene, had created a YouTube channel in 2006 and started uploading videos from their website in 2007, gaining them lots of subscribers and was made a YouTube director. This was something back in the early days of YouTube that allowed a creator to upload videos longer than 10 minutes. It also had some added features such as channel customization options and adding URLs to videos. It now no longer exists. That same year, YouTube launched its partner program, allowing 55% of ad revenue to go to partnered channels. Machinima, already being a director, was made a partner pretty quickly and started making money on their videos. And after seeing the potential for this business model on the platform and the demand for creators to get compensation for their videos, Machinima had an idea. What if they were to play the part of YouTube with less strict requirements and start signing creators under them? Sounds pretty good. Let's run with it. And run with it they did, signing numerous smaller creators over the next couple of years. So finally, creators are actually getting paid for the videos that they make. And if that didn't sweeten up the deal enough, false copyright claims given to said creator would be the company's problem to deal with. So all in all, this was a pretty good deal compared to not getting any money at all or any help. So by now you're probably asking, what's so wrong with this company? And to what I'd say to you, dear viewer, is shut up, I'm getting there, hold on. The terms of a Machinima contract. Usually the terms of these contracts would be that a Machinima director would be required to occasionally upload a video on the Machinima channel, and they would, in turn, pay the creator around 60% of the ad revenue that video made. At the same time, content uploaded to the creator's channel would have monetization turned on, and Machinima would be the one receiving these payments, and would give a certain percentage of the revenue generated to the creator. All seems good up to here, right? Well, speaking of licensing, it is also stated in the contract that Machinima is allowed to use the creator's video under license in perpetuity, meaning forever. Of course they put this on page 3 of the contract, and we haven't even gotten to the best part. In most cases, these contracts would be from 3 to 7 years, though somewhere as long as 30 years to forever. Again, on page 3, all the way at the bottom. So by now, it's pretty obvious to see that they snuck these clauses in on purpose, knowing that the vast majority of their creators were teenagers or young adults who wouldn't know any better and wouldn't bother reading the entire contract. After all, why would you? Everyone wanted to be in Machinima. Besides, it's only 3 years, it's really not that long. In reality, a lot can change in 3 years.
The hell is it?
By the time 2013 rolled around, YouTube's monetization policy had changed to a point where it was much easier for creators to get partnered by themselves. So, instead of getting a fraction of a fraction, you would get the full 55%. So as expected, many creators went to Machinima and wanted out. This is where Machinima became notorious for how hard they would make it for said creators to get out of their contracts, often being ghosted or thrown from person to person via email, and even if they reached the right person, this is where those perpetuity clauses came into the picture. So after Machinima playing the part of a brick wall to many YouTubers, creators started to voice their grievances about Machinima publicly, eroding their public standing for the next 2 years until by 2015, most people knew, well, I'll let Pyro say it.
Stay away from Machinima. They are absolute cancer.
Somehow, Machinima managed to struggle on till 2019, until being merged and dissolved after being sold to Warner Brothers, and promptly privated all the videos on their channels, making thousands of creators' early videos now lost media. Had to be an asshole all the way up until the end. Before we get to the next section of the video, I wanted to put in perspective how influential Machinima was in the gaming space. At its heyday, Machinima was the epicenter of gaming content on YouTube. It's pretty much a given that most of your favorite creators at the time were part of Machinima, and probably had a bad story or two about their interactions with Machinima. But at the same time, it inspired many people, whether it be from the Red vs. Blue series, to Inside Gaming, or to watching Inbox with Sark and APL Fisher. It truly did leave a mark on the internet, and I can't overstate that enough. It really was something that needed to exist at its time, but unfortunately, as time went on, it was no longer needed. It's very sad the way the company ended. It kind of went out with a whimper at the time. Everyone had expected it, and most people were surprised that they even still existed. But at the same time, the amount of videos, the archive that those channels were, is truly the biggest loss of that. Thousands upon thousands of videos are now gone. I mean, they're still there, privated, but unless you can get the account information, there's probably no chance that we'll ever see those videos again. Ironically, around the same time Machinima was slowly bleeding out, over in the land of the rising sun, this started to become popular. Wow, the first VTuber. Of course she's an industry plant. Well, anyway, these VTubers started appearing around 2016 and 2017, and basically are a person, usually streaming or making a video, using an anime avatar on screen to represent themselves, and was mostly relegated to Japan, except for a couple of early adopters here in the US. Over the next 3 years, with more and more advancements with face tracking, and namely VR chat becoming popular due to memes.
You don't know the way. Do you know the way? I know the way. You have to have Ebola to know the way. I have Ebola. You don't know the way to know the way.
It eventually started to spread over to the US. Then once 2020 happened, it really blew up in the States. Going back a bit to when this phenomena was in Japan, a couple of companies saw some potential to make some cash off this new trend. Enter Hololive and Niji Sanji. So after recruiting some talents, things were going well enough in Japan that they decided to have some English-speaking VTubers. Which is how we ended up with the big three, or I guess big two now, that we have today. So after getting the history out of the way, let's take a look at how being a corporate VTuber actually works. So starting off, you have to audition to get into one of these agencies. Now normally, most of these VTubers auditioning for an agency already have a somewhat established YouTuber Twitch channel, so most are already familiar with making content. At any rate, you'd pretty much submit a video selling yourself to the company. It'd be the normal things such as showing off the quality of your content, how your voice sounds, knowing how to sing, and things along those lines. Once you'd get past the audition, you would then go on to the contract negotiation phase. I should note that not much is known by the public of the exact terms of these contracts, due to the fact that these companies love using NDAs, whether you left on good terms or not. So I'll be doing my best in putting the pieces together from the info I've gotten. So the way it works after you've passed the audition and signed the contract, you must stop all activities on your old channel. Reason being, the company gives you a new persona, new name, new channel, and new VTuber model, all of which which the company owns. Essentially, instead of you licensing your channel to them, they are licensing a channel to you. So, in turn, if you decide to leave, they retain ownership of their intellectual properties, meaning bye-bye YouTube channel. There is of course a revenue split, though the exact numbers are a bit foggy, but from what has been revealed, the standard is around a 60-20 split. The main appeal for being a corpo versus an independent VTuber is that you will have an audience right off rip. Usually a lot bigger than your old channel, due to these companies having a large following. It's the difference between going from 1k subs to almost 100k instantly. Another added benefit is having fellow talents that you can collab with in order to share each other's audiences and also to just make new friends. All in all, it is a very appealing offer to new creators. The main disadvantage, in my opinion, is the company does have a say in what content you put out. They will assign you a manager, and they will have to approve any games you play, videos you make, music videos, etc. Basically, if they say no, then sorry, you can't do it. Something that's important to understand for the next section is that if you are a talent and you're leaving one of these agencies, there are two ways of doing it. You can graduate, basically announcing your final stream and saying goodbye to your fans, or you can get terminated. Think of it as an honorable discharge versus a dishonorable discharge. Overall, these contracts are similar in concept to Machinima, minus the predatory clauses of course, but differ in other ways. Lately though, it seems there's been some signs of trouble from these agencies that I think is worth mentioning. So let's take a little look at some of the recent controversies. One of the first big signs of trouble reared its head in early 2024, with Niji Sanji terminating one of its biggest talents at the time, Selen Tatsuki. Tatsuki? I think that's how you say it. Seemingly out of nowhere. Selen had been with Niji Sanji since 2021 and was known for her FPS streams and her dedication to her fanbase, often doing whatever she could to make them happy. So, establishing that, Selen had wanted to make a music video for her fans, but Niji Sanji wouldn't fund it, so she decided that she would then use $15,000 of her own cash to make the video. Niji Sanji's knee-jerk reaction to this was to immediately take the video down in less than 24 hours. How very nice of them. 2 days later, her Twitter account posted a tweet saying that she was currently in the hospital, which it was later revealed to be her manager tweeting this and not her. Remember that little tidbit about the company owning everything? Following that, on the 31st, her account tweeted that she was out of the hospital and recovering. After that, though, it was radio silence from her for an entire month. The company wouldn't mention her, and not even her fellow talents would either. So, expectedly, most fans by then were pretty worried, and they even started a hashtag to get Niji Sanji to update them on her well-being on Twitter. Soon after that hashtag started trending, all of the content on her YouTube channel would be privated. This was a bad sign, and the bad news came on February 5th, 2024, that she would be terminated from Niji Sanji. And this news was especially surprising to Selen herself, who only found out about this termination via a Twitter post from the company. Selen, now using her old Twitter account dokibird, put out a tweet saying that she was actually hospitalized for trying to Minecraft herself, thank you YouTube, and this was caused by a toxic work environment at the company from management and bullying from her fellow talents at the company. And it turns out that this had been festering for months, well before the music video situation. This event had snowballed to the point where the parent company's stock had dropped more than 20%, and even got to the point where the CEO of the company had to come out on video and make a public apology. But by then the damage was already done to their reputation, so much so that they are really struggling in 2025, and don't have nearly as big of a presence as they did before 2024. And that's pretty much the rough synopsis of what happened there. Now there is a lot more that I did not go over, and I really only scratched the surface of the situation. So if you're interested in learning more, there's a link in the description to Mujins' video where he really goes in depth, to the point where I'm talking he makes like 2 videos that are each an hour long. So go check them out. This next section isn't necessarily a controversy, but definitely a sign of trouble, and it revolves around Hololive, who was one of the first VTuber companies to start an English branch. It seems these early talents, or at least a significant portion of them, have a problem with the direction the company is going. Again, specifics aren't known due to them all leaving on good terms, and of course being under NDA, but it's theorized that this could be due to the parent company going public and really pushing the talents to be more of singer idols instead of content creators. At any rate, the smoking gun is right there. Between September of 2024 and May of 2025, 5 creators have left the company, one of which being the crown jewel of Hololive, Galgura. For those who don't know, Galgura was really the one to popularize VTubing in the US in 2020. Before Hololive, she was already pretty big on YouTube, going under the name Senzawa and amassing 1.4 million subscribers. Her Hololive channel has about 4.7 million subs, so she really isn't insignificant. To most VTubers and VTuber fans, she is, or was, the face of their industry. What I think is really telling is how in the last 2 years before she left, the amount she streamed really went down, to the point where she was only streaming maybe once every 3 to 4 months. After she left and started a new independent channel, going under Saba Saba, or Semiko Saba, it drastically increased, to the point where she has a weekly schedule, and the same can be said for at least 2 of her fellow creators who left during that period. Again, not much is known as to what is going on at Hololive, but I definitely think it is worth mentioning and a good idea to keep an eye on it. And now, to the most Machinima-esque downfall, let's talk about Vshojo for a bit. So, Vshojo was a bit of an oddball at the time. It was founded in 2020 during the height of the VTuber craze in the US, and was one of the first US-based VTuber agencies. Their main slogan, you could say, was that they were a talent-first agency, and to the public it really did look like it. The biggest difference being, if you were an indie VTuber, you could join them, and you would get to keep your intellectual properties, meaning you really didn't lose anything when you left. And the same goes for VTubers auditioning with them. They would make you a new channel, model, etc., and you got to keep all of it when you left. The first signs of trouble came in 2023, when 3 creators had left the company. Concerning, but they had insisted it was on good terms, so most fans were just like, okay, and kept going on with their lives. Things really got suspicious when, between May and June of 2025, another 3 creators had left. And then the real bombshell came on July 21st, when Ironmouse, their biggest talent, with 1.4 million subs, had announced that she was leaving Vshojo. And this was due to her finding out that $500,000 she had raised the previous summer for charity had not been received by said charity, along with her also not being paid by the company for an extended period of time. Since Ironmouse was signed to this company, it was Vshojo's job to act as the middleman in giving the money to the charity, but seemingly once the money was given to Vshojo, it disappeared. Poof. Gone. Where did it go, you ask? Well, it turns out they put the money back into the company, because unknown to most of the creators, and even the public, the company was really struggling financially for some time now. This theory was seemingly confirmed over the next couple of days by multiple other creators who were in Vshojo, also coming out saying that they had not been paid by them for as long as up to 12 months. And yes, pocketing money meant for charity is indeed a crime. It soon came out from leaked documents too that Vshojo had clauses that put creators who left the company under NDAs that had no time limit. How very Machinima of them. And was bullying creators for such things as having a lawyer review contracts. Again, how very Machinima of them. They had even threatened to sue this creator for simply canceling a stream due to stress that the company had caused her. This all culminated into a mass exodus of all talents, and by July 24th, the company had announced it was ceasing operations, all in the span of 2 days. Wow. What I want people to understand is that both Machinima and these VTuber agencies all fall under the term of being called a multi-channel network, or an MCN. And Machinima wasn't the only one back in the 2010s. Fullscreen, Maker Studios, and Machinima made up the big 3 at the time, yet all of them had ceased operations by 2020. What simply happened is there was no longer a need for them anymore. As a YouTuber, it made more sense by 2016 to be on your own than to sign with them. And if history tells us anything, these VTuber agencies are pretty much in the same place Machinima, Fullscreen, and Maker were in 2012. So unless they change, they'll probably end up meeting the same fate. To be clear, I'm not necessarily anti-corpo, as they would say. I think it can be done well if you actually care about the talents. It seems the agency FaZe Connect understands that. While I don't agree with them owning everything about their talents' online presence, their CEO Sakana actually seems to care about them on a personal level. Though I do have some questions about the whole FaZe Invader thing, so I may delve into that later at some point. Even now, the only regular YouTuber MCN that I've seen really succeed is Mythic Talent, but that can be explained by the owners of the company being content creators themselves. not greedy corporate suits. So to end us off here, I truly want more of these VTubers who are thinking about joining these agencies to really think about whether or not you want someone to control the content you make, or if you want to be free to make that judgment yourself. I also think that there's some weird taboos that have been perpetuated in that space, such as being very secretive about numbers and thinking that it's bad juju to talk about your old accounts. To me personally, I don't think that that's a bad thing. I always thought that seeing what a person made when they first started their account is a good way to see how their content has grown. As I always say, transparency is everything. Most of the YouTubers that I've watched were always very open about the problems that they had with YouTube and why they make one form of content over another, and I always found that interesting and not something bad. To VTuber fans in general, I really want you to keep tabs on the actions of these agencies. At the end of the day, this whole concept has been done before and didn't really end well for both the companies and the creators. Hold them accountable. Push for these agencies to be more talent-oriented. If we don't remember the past, we are condemned to repeat it. And hopefully now, you'll be able to see the signs that Machinima taught us. This has been Catatonic, and I'll see you guys next time.